Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. Today on the podcast, we have the pleasure of being joined by the man, the myth, and the legend, Max Rascher, who has obviously, you guys are probably all following him, but if you're not, I'm going to leave a link to his LinkedIn in the description in the show notes. He's absolutely killing it on LinkedIn, over 100,000 followers, and he is the founder of Artificial Inspiration. In addition to that, he built a company called ShapeUp, scaled it to over $37,000 in monthly recurring revenue. He's a top-ranked 100 LinkedIn creator worldwide. He's scaled a newsletter to 40,000 subscribers. He's done it all, folks. And all of this really focuses on AI and kind of the advancements we're seeing in AI. So super excited to have him on the show. Welcome today, Max.
I am absolutely pleased and pleasured to be here, Jaden. Thank you very, very much for having me, man.
Awesome. Well, stoked to have you here. I got, a bunch of different questions to ask you about essentially what you're seeing in AI. You're doing partnerships with a lot of amazing companies, and you're talking about a lot of really cool AI news and things that are coming down the pipe. But maybe to get us kicked off with a little bit of context, tell us how you got into this space to begin with. What's your come up story?
Absolutely. I appreciate the question. So I am originally from the US, but our family moved over to Europe, Amsterdam specifically, about 8 years ago. And then 4 of which I came back from a little gap year. And one of the first questions that I asked my father was, does anyone in our family speak Spanish? And he said, no Rascher has ever spoke Spanish. So I was kind of just like, you know what? I'm going to go to university over there. And in the quickest kind of storyline, I believe I did anywhere from, I think it was 13 or 15 different internships in my first 2 years. Anywhere from unpaid, paid to, I have a little analogy, it's called underpaid internships. And it was up until then where I got a really cool sales job. And within the first month, I realized that it wasn't for me. And I wanted to kind of join the creatorpreneur world, if you can use that word, or if that's a word in the dictionary. I don't know if it is, but it should be coined at this point. But from there, I started my agency, ShapeX. Which was the, not antithesis, but it was the third agency out of 2 failures. And it was this one that kind of took off. And we were doing Google ads, Facebook ads, anywhere from social media management. It was very widespread. I was really young when it happened. And I was getting a little bit of kind of activity through LinkedIn. So I told my mom on January 1st of last year, I told her, Mom, by the end of 2023, I want to have 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. And I did not know what 10,000 followers meant. I know for sure my mom did not know what 10,000 let alone what LinkedIn was or whatever it may be. And from there, I should have added it into the story. But a couple years earlier, I had a mentor by the name Brian Exposito, who had created the first AI agency back in 1980, which was a long, long time ago. And he started teaching me about the LLMs and the kind of more machine learning side of generative AI, or AI in general. And that was kind of my first little influence. However, when I ended up creating ShapeX, it took off really, really quick. And I started trying to post value in terms of the Google ads and AI space. In a lack of better words, and I'm going to keep my French to a minimum here. And I'm not going to, as in a minimum, I'm going to say nothing. But I didn't know too much when I was a freshman and a sophomore creating a social media marketing agency. So I was kind of spitting out as much general knowledge that I could find. And then in doing that with my experiences, trying to give more. And eventually it went to the Google Ads AI space. And a year later, I started excuse me. Can we edit this out?
Oh yeah, you're good. No worries.
Last second, I'll stitch it so that you can stitch it together in this story. But a couple days later, so on January 12th of 2023, I ended up posting a Google Ads X AI ChatGPT content, and it absolutely blew up. And I went back to my mom and I said, Mom, I'm at 12,000 followers now, and we have to revisit the blah, blah, blah. And she said, what is this? Blah, blah, blah. And she flipped out. And about a year and a half later, I think I've collaborated with the majority of AI companies. I tried to post as much value content as possible. And as you said, co-founded a couple cool company pages and also my newsletter, The Lazy Marketer.
That's amazing, man. What a crazy story. So something that I'm super curious. I'm sure a lot of people want to know when you kind of see this broad overarching, you cover the AI news, right? So you're seeing every company, what they're putting out. You're sharing this a lot. What are some of the trends that you see today happening in AI that maybe you're able to pick out because of what you see from kind of this overarching content, but most people, your average person, isn't prepared for or isn't aware of? What are some of the things that people are missing right now?
100%. I think and when I say a lot of, I think the majority of people, especially in the 25 and up region, I think that you've heard a lot of the kind of AI hype, and I feel like a lot of the companies and tools and brands in general are trying to integrate something with AI, and it feels a little bit tragic right now, and everyone's kind of they're kind of fragically going around and trying to implement AI here and implement AI there, and it was a lot worse 6 months ago, but everyone's kind of in this cycle or this thought of there's a lot out there and I don't know what to do with it. And I think that the majority of the people are in that place, and the basic thing and the way to start is, how can I use it and what are the best use cases to use it? I feel like a lot of people get lost in the hype and they don't realize the very easy, low-hanging fruit that's often right in front of them.
Yeah, 100%. And in your opinion, especially when you talk about LinkedIn, which is mostly like a corporate audience, you've done a lot of partnerships with these kind of brands. What's some of the low-hanging fruit that people should be using AI for, or some of the AI tools that, it's kind of interesting. I talk with a couple people that do some of these consulting things, and there's just some of the basics that they're like, yeah, people really aren't using these tools. They're not doing them for these things, and it would make a huge difference. So what are those things that you're seeing?
100%. And I'm not going to mention a lot, but I think the easiest one, and it takes me to surprise, and it probably does to you as well, being in this kind of area for a while, but one of the easiest and most efficient and quickest solutions that you can have, there's been companies that I've consulted for 200 million plus, and also down to the startup level where they were taking numbers for all their meetings and they were manually transcribing everything. I think if you haven't heard of that, that's obviously the easiest. And I don't know how far along your audience is, but easily it's within a couple quick pushes and you can save a huge majority of time, if that's something that your team or a task requires. I also think chatbots are generally, for the majority of, I don't want to say technically low-level companies, but not very technically advanced. Like, we're not talking like Apple here and everything like that, or just general stores. I think that you can get a lot of value from chatbots. And then as well, from the creator perspective, I think Midjourney is a tool that everyone kind of knows, but nobody really is able to understand the true value that it has to offer. I met with a man who was a tattoo artist last summer. And then the period of 2 weeks, we were kind of chatting here and there and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, man, like, what's your process actually look like? And from the time that it takes for him to get people into the brick and mortar shop, come in with an idea, with a couple things where they like their sisters, their family environment, or a couple things about them, and actually start to write and create some ideas for tattoo designs, the whole process from front to end was about 8 hours. And last summer, keep in mind, this was after, but way before a bunch of updates and personalizations and everything like that with Midjourney. Last summer, we were able to take his process from about 8 hours into 1 hour. So
oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. That's insane, dude.
It was something that, a lot of people see Midjourney as this cool tool that, you can use in your free time or whatever, whenever it's a rainy day tool. It's not providing direct business value, but it's even with stuff like that it just kind of blows your mind. In any place and any niche and any company can use AI in some way to benefit and make their systems more efficient. Sorry if I was a little verbose.
No, dude, that's a great use case that I guarantee probably no one here has thought of. Few people have thought of the Midjourney for tattoo. I mean, okay, I'm curious, like, do you use Midjourney a lot? Because I freaking love the results. My wife, she's done like a bunch of different books where she illustrations, so she got Midjourney and she used it to do all of that, and it was awesome. But then, like, I don't know, then I think she like stopped her subscription, and so we weren't like subscribed to it. And I because we have Dolly built into ChatGPT or whatever, I just use that all the time. But I also like don't love the results from Dolly, and I'm like, I know this would be so much better with like Midjourney. Do you have a subscription to it, or where are you at on that?
100%. So, and I'll back it up a little bit. I've been going a little bit niche up to this point, so I'll back it up a little bit. Midjourney is one of those tools that for the majority of people, I'd say around 80% of the people or more using it, I hate to say it, but they're beginner levels in that you can kind of get the idea that you want, but as soon as you get that, it takes a lot more time. It's kind of an exponential slope to actually get the output that you're looking for. Whereas it's a whole nother conversation when you talk about open availability and adaptability when it comes to AI, with things like 4.0 and Dolly coming for free from ChatGPT, whereas Midjourney is super expensive. For somebody that doesn't make any money off ChatGPT, or somebody that has a hard time getting the output that they would like, 40 euros a month is pretty expensive. Especially,
is that what Midjourney is right now?
I think Midjourney at the low, I might be wrong here. It's either 40 euro. I think it maybe go up to 40 euros actually, but to actually get value out of it and use the fast hours, which are pretty relevant. I pay around 40 euros, but there's also a lot of people that pay up to, I think it's 100 or 80 euros, or excuse me, USD for your audience as well. I'm also American, by the way, so I speak in euros now, but I'm used to USD in general. But yeah, Midjourney is miles above Dolly, but for a lot of people, it takes you need to get a certain output in order to be able to understand why you'd pay 40 USD a month for a tool, which is interesting.
Yeah, so I looked at it. I think they have a basic plan that's $10 US a month, but then the standard plan, which I think if you want like anything decent, is 30. So yeah, probably like 40 euros. So yeah, dude, that's brutal. That's 100% true. Yeah, but the results are so much better. But you said something so interesting that I want to double click on and get your opinion. So you said a lot of people are using it at a basic level. I mean, everyone's starting is at a basic level. And then if you don't really have a business use case, you might not push it. So you might not actually find out what it's capable of. I've seen some incredible examples and tested and used incredible examples with Midjourney where I got it to design like app screens for apps I was working on developing, or for my like software platform AI box. Like I got it to come up with like full screens and layouts for stuff like that I was paying designers tons of money to use. So I think it's really, really good. If you want to be amazing at it, there's like all these special keywords and prompts you got to use. So OpenAI kind of went the opposite way, where they tried to make it super simple. You tell OpenAI what you want in basic language. They actually rewrite a prompt that they send to Dolly to give you an image back. I find the quality of the images aren't as good as I would like. Maybe 70%, sometimes 65% as good as what you can get out of a top tier Midjourney prompt. Do you think the same thing applies to text chats on ChatGPT, where if you don't know what you're doing, your response is like 70 or like 30% worse than if you really have this custom fine-tuned prompt? Where do you sit on that?
So I think it's an interesting chat. And the longer that we go on, I know we're only like 15, 20 minutes into this, the longer that we go on, the more that I wish that it was a longer episode so that we could talk about everything in conjunction. But I think it's a very, very interesting topic, because I feel like it's a split in terms of the companies. You have people that are specialists when it comes to Midjourney and Runway and these other tools that are a little bit more technically advanced, and they're there because they just benefit the people that were doing these things in the first place, and they make their life a lot more efficient in the most general and broad sense. But then on the other side, you have a company like ChatGPT that they want to give everyone availability. They want to give you the best model. They want to give you some sort of image generation that you don't have to pay for. They want to give you now the GPTs for free. They want to make it so much of a no-brainer that it feels like the adoption of AI is going to become a lot quicker. Whereas that kind of leads into the people that have feared or that didn't like AI because they thought maybe, oh, it's going to take my job. Make sure you get the cliche statements in there. They take my job. Those kind of people are going to understand that, yeah, you can actually use it. But then again, on the flip side, you have things like Midjourney and Runway, where it's a lot more technically over time, you get a lot better, and the scale to skill is a lot more exponential. And that more time you spend on these tools, the better that you're going to get. And hence the better output that you're going to be able to get for your customer or client.
Okay, this is such a fascinating conversation. And I actually 100% agree. This is kind of my thesis too. I've heard a lot of people after a bunch of different innovation that OpenAI has done being like, look, like, prompt engineering's dead because these models are just going to understand what you want and give it to you. Exactly. And I really don't think that that's true. And whatever, like prompt engineering, however you want to frame it or call it, I think the more skilled you are in a certain area, you're going to be able to get better results from AI models because of your skill set. Like something I've talked about for a long time is the fact that, before Sora was ever announced, I'm like, the place this all goes is we're all going to be able to direct our own movies. It's going to be cool. There'll be a feature on Netflix where you can pick the actors and actresses and make a storyline and make the world and whatever, and it like does it.
Yeah.
But like, as people are like, oh my gosh, like it's going to kill jobs for like movie directors or for like wherever. But like the thing is, someone that has never directed a movie before, they can go make a movie and it's going to feel really fun and novel for maybe like the first 5 movies they make because it's their people and their storylines. But then it's going to start feeling a little bland, and then they're going to like miss this like artistic element. And all of a sudden, I think we're going to realize that it's fun that all of us can do everything, but unless we like really sit there and study, and of course, I think these tools are good because a beginner person, if they choose to, can become an amazing movie director where they would never have the opportunity otherwise. But if you already are an amazing movie director, you're gonna make a movie that's 100 times better. You're gonna have all these interesting elements. You're gonna have foreshadowing. It's like if you at 100x.
Well,
100x. Yeah. You've seen. I mean, I don't know about you, but my wife, she like loves like cheesy rom-coms, and I don't know why, but I swear like half of them on Amazon that we watch, I'm like, what is the budget for this movie? Because like the lines are so bad, it's like just so cheesy, And I think it's gonna be the same thing. Like people will direct their own movies, but like you can just like tell when something is not super professional. Like they obviously had the budget for cameras and they hired actors and actresses, but like it wasn't. And I think this kind of plays into all industries, in my opinion, where you can exponentially get better results from ChatGPT or these video or these image generators just based off of your skill set.
It's really, really a dual-bladed sword. And I repeat myself so often. For anyone that follows me, I do a bi-weekly webinar where I feel like I repeat some of the main topics or main phrases or main analogies every 2 weeks. But yeah, it's absolutely a cycle in that when ChatGPT came out, there was a bit of kind of, I call it the innovation inefficiency cycle, and that to actually get to true innovation, you have to go through a very high period of inefficiency, whereas you take longer to do the tasks than they would be done normally through doing them with AI or through finding a solution or a workflow where you can integrate AI into that. And I feel like ChatGPT is in a weird scenario because 6 months ago, 12 months ago, you weren't able to get a really, really quality output or a semi-quality output without using a certain framework. You are X, you are going to do Y, here's an example of Z or whatever. And that's the framework that you kind of needed. And when you would tell people that, they're like, whoa, this is insane, because they've used it up to that point and they had to pay the 20 euros a month or 20 USD a month, and they weren't getting the quality outputs. So then I feel like ChatGPT kind of responded, and I feel like they're absolutely going for mass availability and adoptability, and that lowest case user is able to get a quality output. However, what happens is when you bring up the lowest, I don't want to say the barrier of entry, but when you bring up the lowest quality or the lowest average level of all people within an industry, whether it's shoemakers or VFX designers or tattoo parlors, whatever it may be, when you bring up the overall level, what's going to happen is everyone's able to produce a high quality output at that point. But over time, what's going to happen is, and you're absolutely right, the true specialists, the true diamonds in the dust are going to be able to emerge because they're able to publish and ideate their projects that have been in their mind in a minute amount of time, in the same way that the tattoo parlor guy was able to reduce his stuff from 8 hours to 1 hour. In the same way, these people that are creatives and true creatives are going to be able to ideate and create within no time. And the dual-bladed sword aspect comes in on the flip side, in that I've always said that there's some homeless singers that I've walked past or sat by and walked past in New York or Chicago that they've been so much damn better than Kelly Clarkson up on the Jumbotron. Why the heck should she get a better opportunity than this guy that's singing, making me an emotional wreck over here or whatever while I'm walking through the subway? Like, why is it that I'm someone that feels that everyone should have the opportunity that if they have some project in their mind that they can put that out to the masses, that can be able to see that in other ways that are not possible before this. So I think it's a dual-bladed sword, but I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating. I'm excited because I think different people have different skill sets and arts and perspectives inside of them. And unless, like in the past, just getting the tools to create a movie, for example, was beyond most people. And so I'm excited to see as the tooling becomes easier. Doesn't mean the art or the inspiration or some of the beauty is going to be lost. Some people obviously won't have it, and then they just won't be as popular, or people won't be as interested in their content. So I think it's going to be really exciting to see where this goes. Listen, Max, this was phenomenal having you on the podcast today. You shared so many insights. I got to get you on again, like you mentioned, for a longer one. But thanks so much for tuning in. If people are interested in following you, I'll drop a link to your LinkedIn in the show notes so they can get that. Make sure to give Max a follow. Check out everything he's doing, from his newsletter, The Lazy Marketer, to everything else that he's got going on. A lot of exciting stuff. Max, thanks so much for coming on the show.
I appreciate it, man. I wish it was much longer. I thought I didn't know that we were done already. I was going on a little tangent there.
Oh, dude. I'll get you back on. We'll do round 2, man. We'll get amazing insights.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. See ya.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.